Greetings, Peter from Universal Dork back again. Pretty interesting little movie that I watched last night. I rented it online. I believe now it's currently streaming on Screambox. So if you have that service, I think you can just watch it as part of your whatever subscription. I rented it. It's a movie called Here for Blood. It's a 2022 movie that I believe now is just making it for the first time online for everyone to watch. So it's officially released. I think in 2022 it might have been just released for, horror circuit festivals and stuff like that. But this movie I thought was interesting right from the start. The premise being a pro wrestler, taking a babysitting gig, and ending up having to defend a household from an evil cult. So that alone, pretty cool. So we've got Tom, who is a struggling wrestler who's trying to break into the pro wrestling scene. And his girlfriend is getting ready to take a final exam for one of her college courses, and she asks him to substitute as a babysitter for one of her gigs that she's doing just to make ends meet. So this guy, Tom, who's the sort of struggling pro wrestler guy, decides to take this job reluctantly, and he drives out to the countryside on a foggy night, arrives at the house, meets the parents. They're totally cool with him, aside from initially being a little taken aback by a muscle-bound meathead type guy showing up to take the place of the intended babysitter, Phoebe, who is his girlfriend, who they already trust and speaks highly of Tom. Now, he has no problem sort of getting the lay of the land of the house and sort of easing into the role of a babysitter, which is kind of fun to watch. And he makes friends with the little girl, she's a pretty charming little actor as well. The two of them are hitting it off pretty well, but the problem is there is an evil cult lurking around in the darkness outside. And these guys have some big plans, which we're not fully privy to what it is they want to do inside the house, but they are ready to do some serious home invasion, and they give it a pretty good try. The only problem is now Tom is there ready to use some of his wrestling moves to beat the shit out of anyone who steps foot in the house. And this poses to be a much bigger problem to this evil cult than they originally intended. I don't want to give too much away about the plot. I think if you're interested in horror movies now that utilize practical effects and are pretty comedic, and in fact, I would say that the best way to describe this is if you're a fan of 80s horror movies and 90s stuff, this feels almost exactly like a really good Charles Band Full Moon 90s movie. So if you're a fan of any of those, like Shrunken Heads or Dark Angel, Subspecies, it has this sort of vibe to it, and it has this sort of look as well. And that's right up my alley. The only problem for me is some of this 90s, the 90s Full Moon stuff. Most of the movies were pretty short. This one runs about an hour and 40 minutes. I feel like you could have trimmed 15 to 20 minutes out of this to really give it a nice lean runtime. Still though, I never fell asleep. I was laying down, and usually if I lay down on the couch with a comfy pillow, I'm down for the count, no matter what time of day it is. This one kept me interested and engaged the whole time. Not all the comedy works. Some of it's a little too on the nose. Haha, yeah, we get it. He's a muscle-bound babysitter. He's a tough guy, and he's, taking this untraditional role. But overall, I feel like it was humorous enough. There was a few good jokes in there. It wasn't too over-the-top stupid. It also featured Dee Snider. I was originally expecting Dee Snider to appear from Twisted Sister in a major role, so I was looking all over the place for him in the movie, and his role was a little bit disappointing, though they do utilize his voice for one of the main characters. There's a supernatural aspect of this that I enjoyed, so it's not just like The Strangers coming in, the movie The Strangers, where it's a home invasion. Obviously, it's not as dark as that either. This is very fun. I would say it's more of a comedy than a horror movie, even though there's some wild, gory practical effects. And much like a Full Moon feature from the 90s, there's cool practical gore effects and sort of like creature effects or monstery effects here in this case. But then also some slightly shoddy digital CGI, though they're not like CGI monsters bouncing off the walls or anything, so don't worry about that. But if you like the Full Moon stuff from the 90s, you'll probably dig this. There was some pretty good action in it as well, because they, of course, one of the main events here is quite literally the main event is watching this guy Tom using his professional wrestling maneuvers and skills to fight off this cult. So there's some good scenes. There's some cool sequences where Tom fights off some muscle-bound cult members. But this isn't all about Tom. His girlfriend Phoebe also gets in on the action and has some pretty great scenes as well. I mean, this is a really fun movie in comparison to a lot of stuff that I'm seeing out there these days. The only problem I would say with some of these movies now that are sort of trying to imitate the 80s and 90s with their practical effects and all of this stuff is I'm noticing this thing with bad lighting in some of these movies. And I feel like this one sort of suffers from some bad lighting, which can be a bit of a bummer because I picture this movie looking and being filmed in a different way and it really working a lot better. Everything's a little bit too bright to be that spooky. There's obviously fog machines that are generating fog that some of it looks a little bit hokey in that way. But hey, I overall, I've got nothing but pretty good things to say about this one. On Letterboxd, I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, maybe 3.5. I don't know, maybe it would play better with an audience. But still, a 3-star horror movie of a low budget is pretty good. And I would say that this one does deliver pretty much everything that you want. And at least for me, I'm getting sort of tired of movies these days that feel like they were made with ChatGPT. And even if all the humor doesn't always land, at least for me, at least it feels like there was a real attempt by real people to bring an original concept to life. There's cool gore, there's fun characters, and the movie does have a lot of heart, which I appreciate as well. And it's not going to bore you to death. So if you really like 90s horror stuff with a sprinkle of Evil Dead, and like I said, the full moon vibe, which I do, this one is most definitely worth a watch, and I do recommend it. So check this one out if you're looking for something and you're scrolling around for 2 hours trying to find something to watch. Just cut to the chase. Check this one out. So, Here for Blood, out now. I recommend it.